We've been lucky so far at all the places we've stayed, but I'd say this is one of the best so far. Since we left New York, I've only set up my hammock once, and now we're all the way in Utah, and luckily enough, I was able to set up my hammock on one of these trees.
And we're kind of like in the desert.
Gabby always thought that she would make an impact on the world. It's something she wanted to do. She wanted to show people that the world is a bigger, beautiful place than they can imagine. And it's just a shame that she didn't get to see how many people she would impact. We tell her now. I'm sure she's looking down seeing it. But it would have been cool to see her reaction to it.
In June of 2021, Gabby and her fiance embarked on a cross-country trip and documented their journey on YouTube and social media.
Me and Brian just got up and got ready.
And now we're all the way in Utah.
And we're kind of like in the desert.
They were the couple that every wanderer wanted to be.
Gabby, PETITO, never goes outside.
Here's a missing persons case that is spreading all over the place like wildfire.
2 young kids on a trip across the country, and one of them disappears.
We love her very much, and we want her to come home.
Police across the country are searching for any clues related to Gabby's disappearance.
Gabby, home!
We need so bad! This case became a social media obsession.
I see Twitter going like crazy.
I have been so consumed by this case.
Where's Gabby? Where's Gabby?
It felt like the whole country was trying to find her.
Dozens of law enforcement agencies, the FBI, and thousands, possibly millions of people online.
You couldn't tell anything could have been wrong.
They could have never known what was to come.
Good afternoon. My name is Charles Jones. First and foremost, on behalf of the FBI personnel and our partners, I would like to extend sincere and heartfelt condolences to Gabby's family. Earlier today, human remains were discovered, consistent with the description of Gabby PETITO. The cause of death has not been determined at this time.
Gabby was officially a missing person on the 11th. That night, the detective showed up on my door. And from that moment on, I knew in my heart that my daughter was gone. But I kept strong for everyone else, and we were going to look for her, and we were going to find her.
Full forensic identification has not been completed to confirm 100% that we found Gabby, but her family has been notified of this discovery.
Mother's instinct. I just knew. I think even Joe asked me, "What do you think?" He said, "I trust your motherly instinct." And I said, "I don't know, Joe. I don't know. But we're gonna need to find her." And I think that he knew what I knew, but nobody wanted to say it out loud.
On behalf of the FBI personnel and our partners, I would like to extend sincere and heartfelt condolences to Gabby's family.
I actually go back to her TikTok or the YouTube videos that people send me where they edit out a certain person, you know, and just listen to her and hear her voice.
So me and Brian just got up and got ready, made the bed in the tent.
You know, I got my personal, videos and stuff, and listen to them. That's all I got now. And I will say to all the parents that have children, take as many videos as you can.
Take those pictures.
Take those
selfies with your children, because that's what we have. We have our memories, but pictures somehow make those memories come back.
After Gabby's body was found, everyone wanted to find Brian and they wanted answers.
Brian, he returned to Florida on September 1st, but without Gabby. It seemed like he was taking on life as normal. Nothing seemed to be wrong. And then, according to Brian's parents' attorney, Brian simply went for a hike in the Myakkahatchee Creek Environmental Park on September 13th. He had a few things with him, and he had parked his Mustang at the entrance of that park and gone for a walk. Brian's parents went and picked up his Mustang that was parked at the entrance of the park with no Brian in it, and it wasn't until a couple of days later that his parents reported him missing.
Most of the search for Brian was focused on the Carlton Reserve and Myakkahatchee Creek. And this area is huge, and it is a giant swamp. So to look for anything in there is like finding a needle in a haystack.
Brian's search now had to take place in a swamp that police told us was 75% submerged in water.
The water levels in the park were just rising. And on top of that, it's extremely hot. So you're dealing with not just bugs, but snakes, water moccasins, all types of hazards that make it extremely difficult to search out there, never mind live out there.
This reserve is huge. It is hard to go through. It's not pleasant. But this was the only clue that anyone had known about as to where Brian might be. But for one of my assignments at work, they sent me into the swamp to see if someone could actually live out there. Guys, I've asked you guys that as we're looking for Brian Laundrie. It's now on day 5 of the search. And what is your answer?
When you're out in these wetlands, the snakes, the alligators, they hear you coming and they go someplace else. You know, the things I would worry about is mosquitoes, and a place to sleep, making sure I've got enough water.
To live out there, it's truly impossible. And so to think that Brian could still be out there seemed like a stretch. Nobody knew where he was.
Please, search warrant.
The day after Gabby's remains were found, the FBI executed a search warrant on the Laundrie home for the very first time. We had seen Northport police officers go into the home and talk with the family, but this was the first time we were seeing FBI officers enter the home to collect evidence.
The FBI brought out boxes and computers and just all kinds of things for a good 45 minutes to an hour. We remember just watching them in and out, just removing things from the home.
We are seeing that about 15 agents with lots of equipment are on scene at the Laundrie family home.
Any little piece of evidence or knowledge about what happened to Gabby Petito could be in this house. You do the best that you can. Obviously, while you're there on the ground, you're trying to find any new information. Search warrant documents obtained by CBS News show that communication between Petito and her mother suggests there was more and more tension building between Laundrie and Petito.
In August, before Gabby went missing, Gabby's mom received a weird text message that just didn't sound like her daughter. She needed to provide that to the police, and so it became a part of the search warrant.
Can you help Stan? I just keep getting his voicemails and missed calls. Stan was Gabby's grandfather's name, but it wasn't like her to call him by his formal name.
With the search warrant, the text Gabby sent to her mother was made public. Theories exploded online about what Stan could mean.
I want to talk about those last few texts that Gabby's mom, Nicole, received on her phone that she said she's not sure were from Gabby.
A lot of people thought that it could mean send the authorities now, STAN. And maybe it could have been a help me text. And it could have possibly been sent from Gabby Petito.
The evidence from those text messages weren't in and of themselves enough to conduct a search warrant at the Laundrie home, but all the circumstances added together, involving the van arriving there, involving Brian Laundrie being there, involving her being gone and now found deceased. So for all these reasons, there was enough probable cause.
Everyone thought that the police were just searching this park just to cover their butts. And for a lot of people, that was just frustrating.
The question now is, where is Brian Laundrie? And I can tell you where he's not. He's not at the Carlton Reserve.
There have been a lot of theories online. I want to know what you guys think about where he could be hiding.
People really started to dig deep into Brian's social media activity to see if he's still active. There's a lot of stuff that popped up. There were things like the Spotify playlist being updated.
If you go into Spotify on Nomadic Statics playlist, the playlist has been updated yesterday.
One of his Spotify playlists was renamed from Self-Consumption to Nomadic Static.
People thought that because things were happening with the Nomadic Static Spotify account, that maybe Brian Laundrie had access to it and was using it.
This profile picture that was there of Gabby and Brian in the van, by the van, is no longer there. Not only that, but the most recent playlist, the title has been removed.
The more you got into it, it became bizarre. And every time you didn't think it could get more bizarre, it did.
There's been a video circulating of someone saying that Brian went live on Instagram for 2 seconds in a boat surrounded by water.
There was a short video on his Instagram live, and people thought, you know, he accidentally went live on Instagram.
Brian Laundrie live on Instagram for a few seconds on a boat. That video got 11 million views. When the internet started looking for Brian Laundrie, they weren't just also looking for Brian Laundrie. They decided to turn their attention also at Rose Davis, Gabby Petito's best friend. In the video, there was a camo croc, and they went to Rose's Instagram and saw that she had the same type of shoe. people were using that video of Brian Laundrie going live on Instagram and pinning it to use as evidence that Rose was involved with Gabby's murder and was helping Brian escape. It sounds wild, but this was a very popular theory happening. No one was addressing these crazy rumors. I have to find the original video. I searched TikTok and I found the original video. People were like, holy crap.
Do you guys want to know where that screen recording of Brian Laundrie on the boat actually came from? I'll tell you. It didn't come from Brian.
It was from 2020 of two guys on a boat in Florida fishing for catfish.
You want? I'll grab.
I do think people on social media were also exploiting the case to get not only likes, but views, and in turn, to get paid more money.
Channel cap, bro.
Tank on the jug, bro.
On this jug.
Oh,
shit.
Some people did forget that there is a real family behind Gabby Petito. There's a real family behind her, real friends, real people. This is a real situation. And there's people that are affected by this.
It's every day. Every day. And, you know, there's moments I'll just be sitting at the table eating dinner and it just hits me, or lying in bed at night, that's when it hits me hard. Because I think about her every single night.
In the last couple hours, we actually found out that Gabby's death was ruled a homicide. Now we can say it. Gabby Petito was murdered.
This is a homicide. Now we just need to know what actually happened, what went down, who did what.
It's another moment when you just sort of shake your head as you're learning that this was a homicide, that this was someone who killed someone else. It just confirms your worst fears, your worst thoughts about what this could be.
We all pretty much knew this is what they were going to say. Now they need to find Brian.
Once you hear it and it gets declared, it's just every little update, it's sad and sad and sad.
Please keep Gabby's friends and family in your thoughts and prayers as they grieve for Gabby.
It goes around in circles with the what ifs. It's hard because in the reality, you can't change what happened. So it's a dangerous state of mind to be in. I decided that I'm no longer going to take any blame for anything that happened, and nobody is to blame here except for the one person that did this to her. And that's it.
We heard from the coroner that it was ruled a homicide on the 21st, but what we didn't hear was that Brian was being charged with murder. And so for a lot of people, that was frustrating, right? You know, here's Brian missing. We know that Gabby was killed. We know that Brian was the last person seen with her. And yet, Brian was still just a missing person and a person of interest in Gabby's death. The day after, an arrest warrant was finally issued for Brian Laundrie. But when the arrest warrant came out, it wasn't what everybody was expecting it would be. It was for using Gabby Petito's debit card without her permission.
Brian allegedly charged $1,000 to Gabby's debit card. These purchases violate a federal statute.
When I heard there was an arrest warrant for Brian, I immediately thought that it would be for his connection in Gabby's death. I don't think anyone would have imagined that it was for fraud.
We're all sitting there looking at each other and going, well, if this is the way the FBI feels they can get him, do it. Like, it was one of those really like, huh, type of moments for everybody.
When the arrest warrant was issued and it was a $1,000 bank fraud charge, the reaction from most people on the internet is they were angry because they wanted it to be an arrest for murder.
My brother's an attorney and I called him to verify what I thought was true. And basically the reason why they can't issue a warrant is there is not enough evidence at the moment to give a solid case.
The FBI was being careful. I think that they had something they knew they could stick on him, and they charged him with it. He was now being sought as a criminal, and that if he were caught, he wouldn't just get to go home to his parents, that he would actually have to talk to law enforcement at that point.
Days and days have gone by of searching the reserve. Everyone felt a little bit hopeless. We have seen so much equipment go into the reserve, and we've still got no answers. It just seemed like we weren't getting anywhere with this case.
You wait, and you wait for information. It was tough to be out there. It's tough covering stories like that. And I go back to always kind of keeping the parents in mind at the forefront of why we're doing this.
Gabby's memorial service, it took place near her hometown with all of her family and all of her closest friends there, and also just members of the public who had never met Gabby before but fell in love with her.
We had gone back and forth with, should we have her service be private, family and friends only, or should we invite the public? And we decided we wanted to invite the public because they helped us so much. Like, they were the ones who were there for us through the whole process. I got to meet a lot of wonderful people. I tried to stand there the whole time and talk to as many people as I could. Some people just came in and walked through and just paid their respects. But I was humbled by the amount of people that came, and just, they felt so connected to Gabby, and that was just her spirit.
Gabby loved life, lived her life every single day. Every day that I still see her as this child, lived her life. She
just lit up a room when she walked in. People just enjoyed her company. She was so friendly and kind. She just was a good person.
Gabby is the most amazing person I've ever met. So if you're gonna leave here today, I'm asking that you guys be inspired by the way she treated people. All people. Love knows no gender. Love knows no bounds.
For them to stand up and just acknowledge each other as fathers is just incredible. And I hope that it helps other people see how they can raise children in blended families as well.
Just to be clear, Gabby had 4 parents. They weren't step-parents. She had 4 parents that genuinely loved her as if she was her own.
Jim's an amazing person. He's loved Gabby as if she was his own. And Tara the same, you know? So There are no step-parents. Gabby never actually said, you're not my mom, or you're not my dad. That wasn't her verbiage. She knew that we cared.
I was mommy number 2.
Yeah.
Same way.
The coroner was keeping her body for evidence. They had to hold a memorial service without Gabby's remains there, and they had to hold a memorial service without any answer, really, as to how she died. And for the family to have to memorialize their daughter with so many things still hanging in the air was just heartbreaking.
After the memorial, there was video zooming in on Rose's face and her laughing, and then it got spun to her laughing at Gabby's memorial. Now, I believe that they were laughing about maybe something funny Gabby did one time, but very much Rose was targeted at the time.
Disrespecting Gabby in this way by bashing her best friend with conspiracy theories and rumors is just really disheartening.
She was remembering something fond about her friend. And if for a split moment that pain was taken away for her to have a laugh, then good for her. The bullying that Rose endured was unfathomable, and it was just wrong. She's lost her best friend in a very public way, in a very tragic way. And then now all of a sudden, the internet's coming at her. It's cruel and hateful and threatening. She's still getting threats to this day.
Northport police transferred authority over the case to the FBI. And once that happened, it was like stonewalling the media. They would not answer any questions whatsoever.
We would reach out to the FBI and say, hey, can you answer this? I remember emailing them. All they would tell us was look at our Twitter.
In my experience, when law enforcement goes quiet and less information is coming out, it drives more public speculation. And for about a 2-week period in there during the search for Brian, public speculation was just wild.
And so all of a sudden, everything's flying all over the place. Every time you turned around, there was another sighting of Brian Laundrie. He was in Alabama. He was in North Carolina. He was in South Carolina. He was in Georgia. He was in Tennessee at one point.
We were hearing about sightings in cities 700 miles away, in cities 500 miles away, of people believing that they saw Brian and calling it into law enforcement.
911, what's the location of your emergency?
Well, I'm on the highway right now, but I ran into Brian just a little while ago. He was driving a truck, and I stopped and talked to him. And I'm 99.99% sure that was him.
The Brian sightings definitely were a challenge because as a reporter, you have to hunt it down. You're not allowed to just say there was one and move on.
I did an entire story about a picture from a deer cam because this could be a lead in the case. Nobody knew where Brian was, and for people who wanted updates on the case but couldn't get it from police, all you had to do was turn on Facebook or Twitter. People had all sorts of theories that you could check out and follow.
There was a person that was spotted in Alabama, and I have the update on that. That was just released not long ago. So officials confirm it is not Brian Laundrie.
I personally kept getting tagged in videos that could possibly be Brian Laundrie sightings.
Hi.
And I would debunk each and every sighting.
I'm almost certain this man had some type of tattoos on his arm. I brightened the video on this part of the video because it shadows out, but you can see this as well. You can still see something on his arm. Yeah, I don't think this is Brian Laundrie.
Is he alive? Is he still out here in these wilderness streets? Is he in the Appalachian Trails? Is he in the Carlton Reserve? Where the hell is this man?
To really put things into perspective, how thirsty people were for information, there was a drone that flew over Brian Laundrie's house. There's speculation that a hand was sticking out of the garden and that the parents were feeding Brian through the garden to hide him from the authorities.
People start having these plans show up on social media because they had that shed, and this looks like it could be a bunker, and is there a hand sticking out of the flower bed? Like, it got so much to the point where people love the bunker theory that in my TikTok lives, I had to block the words bunker and flower bed. I think that there are still people today that believe it.
As a journalist, it became more and more important every day to make sure that every ounce of information was verified, because there was so many theories out there, so much misinformation, and everybody had something they wanted to say about it.
Every news outlet was left searching for a viable source of updates on this story, and it was at that moment and in that vacuum of information that in walks Dog the Bounty Hunter.
When you have a celebrity bounty hunter on the case looking for this guy, more people are going to take notice.
Can you tell us why you're here, sir? Well, barely got one, you know.
He had a tip line people could call and give updates and tips to.
Do you have any tips? I'm trying to get some 833 tell dog. We're getting tips every 10 minutes.
Dog goes to Fort DeSoto Park. And here's the media wondering, why is Dog searching up in Fort DeSoto Park instead of down in Carlton Reserve where the police are? Fort DeSoto is a public campsite, so you can obtain the logbooks of the people who camped there. And sure enough, there in ink was the signature from the family, from Roberta Laundrie, that they had stayed there.
Dog the Bounty Hunter is the one who revealed it, and we were able to piece together that timeline.
So when the news broke that Brian had gone camping with his family, you were kind of like, what? Like, this guy just came back from Florida, brought his girlfriend's van, and they're going camping? Gabby's family is looking for her. They're texting you, and you're on a camping trip?
You have the audacity to go camp with your son when he was of interest for murdering his fiancée? Where is Brian?
Once that information came out, that's when you really started seeing people calling, you know, not only Brian a murderer, but his parents accomplices.
Come out and do the right thing, and you need to testify. You need to speak up. Quit being a fucking coward.
The anger towards his parents specifically was stronger than ever. The Laundries, for at least a period of time, were some of the most hated people.
It's in flowers.
You need to come out.
I went there every day for several weeks. I was posting on my social media on TikTok, and I became friends with some creators on there who were also posting about Gabby Petito. And one of them was Justin.
So I was on TikTok Live, and somebody suggested, hey, you should do a banner. And I thought about it for a second, and I was like, all right, we should do a banner. And I may or may not have had 1 or 2 drinks in me. And I said, fine, you guys want to donate? And so they started donating, and I'm like, well, I guess I'm doing a banner. Okay, guys, so some updates on the banner and a few good ones. So first and foremost, let's talk about who's going to be down there. Olivia has volunteered to drive up there. It's about an hour for her to put this on camera so we can catch it. Justice for Gabby, TikTok, Time's Up. The purpose of the banner was to put pressure on the Laundries. You know, we wanted them to speak, and it's probably pretty annoying to have a plane fly above your house for a couple hours, you know, with a sign that's basically pointing to you. Anyways, I want to thank you guys for doing this. It was y'all's idea and your donations that made it happen. They've remained silent despite all the pressure, and that is not an easy thing to do.
The Teton County Coroner Office is filing the following verdict in the death of Gabrielle Lenora Petito. We hereby find the cause and manner of death to be the cause, death by strangulation, and manner is homicide. By Wyoming state statute, no other information will be released about the autopsy.
On October 12th, the Grand Teton coroner announced that Gabby's cause of death was manual strangulation and throttling.
When the details from Gabby's autopsy came out, that just gripped all of our hearts because that is a very personal way to kill someone. It doesn't happen fast. That was so hard for all of us at the station to just wrap our heads around.
You think about the last moments, you think about the last breath. What were they thinking? What were they going through? The fact that, you know, there was this potential struggle and she left in such a tragic way.
Dr. Blue made one comment in that press conference referencing domestic violence, which was an odd thing to comment about.
Unfortunately, this is only one of many deaths around the country of people who are involved in domestic violence.
We decided as the 4 parents that we were all going to go bring her home. And it was the most beautiful place that I've ever been. I felt very connected to her there.
When we went to Wyoming, I got to see, you know, some of the things that she saw and the mountain ranges and this with the snow. I mean, it was just stunning, stunning. And I got it. I got it.
It was just so sad. But at the same time, after I went to visit that spot, I realized how beautiful it was. And it couldn't have been a more beautiful, serene place for her.
So I know a ton of us have been waiting for updates on the Gabby Petito case. It's honestly just been kind of quiet.
Every day that the police spent searching that swamp in the Carlton Reserve was another day that people grew less and less confident that they were ever going to find anything in that park.
With Brian missing for a month, it definitely felt like there was starting to become a lull in the case. I remember I was still going out to the reserve. I would still be standing out there and nothing would happen. We weren't getting any answers from this. And then something strange happened. October 20th is the first day that law enforcement opens the reserve to the public, and that's the day when Brian's parents go out there and ask if they can search too.
I received a text message that Chris and Roberta went out to look for Brian themselves at the park. It kind of made me wonder, why do they think he's still there after, such a long period of time?
The timing raised a lot of questions. His parents didn't go to the reserve for at least 2 weeks. Then, when the water level started to recede, they visited the park.
The explanation given from police was that the water had receded enough where the Laundries could take them on a walk through the woods on the trail that Brian had been going on, and a trail that they frequented as a family.
The whole public wanted answers, but the #1 people who deserved the answers was Gabby's parents.
Answers that everybody had been waiting for so long.
Where is Brian?
And then not too far away, they find what everyone has been looking for weeks. It was extremely shocking.
Earlier today, investigators found what appears to be human remains, along with personal items, such as a backpack and notebook belonging to Brian Laundrie.
Specifically, what was discovered that day was Brian's remains, first and foremost, and according to police, they were not all together. They were spread out. They were able to identify that it was Brian through dental records.
It was just confirmed that the partial remains that were recovered yesterday are those of Brian Laundrie. Brian Laundrie is dead.
Speculation went crazy. People saying, hey, you just opened the park, the parents show up, and now all of a sudden you find the remains.
A lot of people are confused how the police and FBI could be searching so long for Brian Laundrie, and he was only found after his parents went out there to the park.
Stephen Bertolino was the only source of information we could get from the Laundrie side of the story.
And he was interviewed by multiple news outlets explaining this is what happened.
The items that were located today, or I should say yesterday, perhaps couldn't be seen. So we're not just saying it, I'm not just saying it, the FBI is saying it, everyone is saying it, and yet these platforms are still running amok with these ludicrous and I have to say, nonsensical theories of the parents planting things there. I mean, enough is enough. The Laundries have been cooperating with law enforcement, both locally and federally, since day one with respect to Brian.
People were hoping for answers from Brian. They were hoping that they would see Brian on the news explaining this is what happened and this is how the story played out, and that's just not what they got. All they got was Brian's been found dead, and that's the end of the story.
What was important is that we did have a form of closure, whether we liked it or not. There was a 22 and a 23-year-old who went on this trip in August, and now they're both not here. Every time I see their picture, I'm like, they're both gone.
It wasn't until weeks later that we found out the details, that he had used a revolver, that the manner of death was deemed a suicide, and what those personal items were that were near him. But it turned out there was also a box with personal items in it, as well as a backpack that contained some additional items in waterproof bags.
Why does Brian have a waterproof bag? You use waterproof bags to waterproof things, such as papers, things you don't want to get wet. Whatever was in that bag was meant to be preserved. So Brian knew he was going to go in there, commit suicide, put something inside of a bag that needed to be preserved. The question that everybody has right now is what was in Brian's notebook.
In January, 4 months after Gabby's remains had been found, her family was called in to speak with the FBI because they finally were able to decipher what Brian's notebook said.
We realized that some big news was probably going to come out of this. Then that was when the FBI posted what would be their final bulletin regarding this case. That final bulletin stated that Brian had committed suicide. We don't know what was going on in his head. We don't know why, and all people want to know is why.
There was absolutely a sense that Brian's notebook could hold more answers, and in the end, it turned out it did.
Y'all, this is massive, massive.
Currently, this is going around the true crime community like wildfire.
I'm gonna read it to you verbatim. I ended her life. I thought it was merciful, and that is what she wanted. But I see now all the mistakes I made. I panicked. I was in shock.
Let's be real. This is just shocking, and it sucks. She slipped and hit her head, and next thing you know, because she's in so much pain, he just rolls over and just takes her life? That doesn't make sense to me, y'all.
It seems a little strange. Whatever must have happened, we know how this story ends. Brian is supposed to be looking out and protecting the love of his life, where instead he's murdering her?
He will never be held accountable. It almost feels not fair that there's no real justice for Gabby Petito, that he doesn't have to face the parents in the courtroom. I don't know how I would feel as a parent. I guess it ends, but it doesn't.
There are days when I feel like I'm living it all over again. There are days when I'm angry and I have to have a good scream now and then. And I have to tell Gabby that I miss her. Everything we saw, he was good to her. I don't know when it turned behind closed doors. I don't know when it changed. But I think once you're in it deep enough, you don't even realize what happened to you at that point. And it's just scary to think about. People can do that to other people. And I'm sad for her that she had to go through that alone, because everybody who loves her would have definitely helped her. What keeps me going is fighting for Gabby. She didn't deserve what happened to her. And there are so many other people out there that are going through similar situations. And I know that they need help. And if we can even save one life, then we've done our job.
Gabby Petito loved life, loved people, and loved experiences. She was the bright light in everyone's life that knew her. Gabby's family does not want that light to dim, and they want to make some good from this awful tragedy. That's why they're starting the Gabby Petito Foundation.
We knew that we had a platform, that we had a way to help, and we wanted to make sure that we could make Gabby proud and all the people that helped us proud and try and make that difference. And that's what we're doing. As parents, as a foundation.
You have no choice.
You could either cry in a bedroom all day and not get out of bed, or you can try to make a difference.
Domestic violence should not be the dirty secret it is today. And that needs to change.
Yeah.
The shame does not belong to the victim. It belongs to the abuser. Plain and simple.
We can't let her name be taken in vain. We need positive stuff. All right, so anything that we can do to bring that up and help people, that's what we want to do.
We have gotten messages and emails of young women that say, thank you to her, I got out of a dangerous situation. And we can't believe that just that alone is saving lives. We have a lot more work to do to help save more lives, but the fact that she's this powerful spirit that's saving lives already is just incredible. I think people just feel connected to Gabby, and especially here in the community, they like to pay their respects, and this is a really nice place to come and leave some flowers and just look at the beautiful artwork, and it's how they show their love for her. I see this every day, and I'm just running errands or taking the kids to school. I get to pass by this, and it's just amazing. It shows a strong woman standing with her wings, and it represents who she is now.
She touched the world.
Yes. Famous words of Joe Petito, and they are so true. We're proud of her for that. Gabby, I think, will always be remembered as a sweet, loving, kind soul who lived life to the fullest. And I want the world to remember her as that, not as a victim or as a sad story. I want them to see the good part of her and always remember that you can do anything you want and nothing can stop you.